This is, and it's so nice of him that in spite of his, yesterday I'm told he was the Prime Minister, then he finished that work and rushed back for our meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Prashad, for having given us that importance to this meeting. And well, I don't have much to show because enough is being talked on global warming. Enough is being talked in all forums possible. So I only want that arising out of this, are we going to come out with any specific recommendations which could be implemented by Coal India or coal sector? That is the main thing. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Narayanan. Thank you very much for your words of advice and wisdom to us. And we will make sure that some concrete recommendations are made to the policymakers and to the people who are at the helm of affairs for taking decisions. Now I have the honor of inviting Madam Michelle Manouk. She has been with us for quite some time, and the Indian Coal Forum has a memorandum of understanding with World Coal Association, and we are trying to work towards the climate change as well as arriving at net zero fare together and also having a lot of collaboration. So, Madam Michelle Manouk is the Chief Executive of the World Coal Association. She has held this role since July 2019. Previously, she was head of the strategy, government and the communication for Europe, Asia and Africa for the multinational company Orica. Her career spans over 25 years in senior role in the energy, oil, and gas and mining industries in both developed and developing markets. She has also held non-executive director position in energy and healthcare sectors, and early in her career worked in the policy and the public affairs for the government of Western Australia. She is looking to foster international collaboration and promote real clean coal technologies and innovation solutions to the world's challenges. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology and postgraduate qualification from the University of Western Australia. So may I offer to you, Madam Manouk, a round of applause, please, for her being with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with this esteemed gathering of partners and fellow peers today. To the Indian Coal Forum, who is also a World Coal Association associate member and, as we've rightly pointed out, an MOU partner, led by Chairman Shri Alok Purty and Executive President Shri U. Kumar, my sincere gratitude for extending me this gracious invitation and for orchestrating this prestigious third COALLOG India event. I am honoured to be included in such distinguished company. I am also so very privileged to have had the opportunity now to share a platform with your amazing people of coal, fathers of coal even such, esteemed chief guest, Dr. M.P. Narayan, and of course, you're the former chairman of Coal India Limited. This is such an honor for me to have met you yesterday at the Women in Mining Conference India. To my colleagues there, a shout out to you, welcome. It was wonderful to share the stage with you and to see also the amazing work that you have done in your, and starting to do in your inaugural event. And I'm very thrilled to be part of that. And of course, also to our esteemed guest of honor, Shri P.M. Prasad, Chairman of Coal India Limited, who is also, sir, my newly appointed Vice Chairman, World Coal Association. It is an absolute privilege and honor to share the stage with you today, and I look forward to our meeting later today. It is indeed auspicious to actually share this platform with all of you, both sitting up on this stage as well as those of us in the audience. We are about to make history for coal, but not the kind of history that ends coal, the kind of history that creates the future for coal. And so more of that later in my address. Let me actually start today. Our event is themed, The Role of Coal, Transition to Net Zero. And when I reflect on this theme, I am reminded that to embed any successful future for coal in a net zero transition, we must pay regard to not just the role of coal, but rather the role of the critical resource that is coal. And it's quite important now that we put that word critical in front of coal. And also that this transition is not a transition to net zero. It is a transition to a robust, developed and advanced economy, not just for India, but for many nations around the world. I have certainly been clear over the years in my role that this achievement can only be gained through a united coalition of the responsible coal value chain, who are focused on sustainable stewardship and through modernization demonstrated in innovation and abatement technologies. And we must not forget that any role and any goal of modernization, particularly in mining, will have to be to operate world-class facilities, which are to boast the highest safety standards, a skilled, dynamic workforce, always focused on continuous improvement, and most importantly, an engaged community that gives us our license to operate, a community that benefits and contributes to sustainable infrastructure and operations. We must also continue to remind the world that without coal, we would not have the global progress that many have made in society today, but also that many are yet still to enjoy. And that without abated coal, and so in this regard, it is quite important to note that the phase down is not the phase down of coal, but it is actually the phase down of unabated coal. And in this regard, our future still remains. But of course, modernization remains critical to this. And in this regard, abated coal and modernization through this must be through innovation, technologies and processes which create efficiencies and reduce all emissions, not just CO2. We will not alleviate poverty and modernize the developing and emerging markets towards future global progress without this understanding. And for those in the developed markets, they will be compromising and undermining the very prosperity that they have achieved and seek to continue to enjoy. There is global evidence of the latter today, and under the association's Evolving Coal Strategy, which was ratified in 2019, we advocate 3 mantras in support of our critical resource coal. Firstly, coal is a crucial element and a total enabler contributing to both the global energy transition and the global development agenda. Secondly, just like any other resource and/or energy source, coal will responsibly transition if allowed to participate on a level playing field through efficiency improvements, emissions control, and decarbonization technology, not outright elimination. And lastly, and probably the one fact that remains most compelling in nearly every media interview, public engagement speech that I give, and should never be forgotten, up to 99% of coal pollutants can be mitigated with technologies and processes that exist today. So there is no logical reason to disqualify coal from any sustainable agenda. It can and should coexist with all affordable energy forms. It is never, for myself, a question of exclusion, only inclusion. The focus of this event on the coal supply chain and technology, in my view, identifies several key proponents which I believe propels our future on coal. There is a crisis of confidence in the global north now emerging, and rightly so, because as we have always stated, the reality cannot be argued with. There has been, for too long, a singular focus on one solution, namely renewables, achieving the net zero ambitions solely. And the reality is there is no near-term 100% renewable scenario. The International Panel on Climate Change has been very clear about this for a number of years, but this doesn't get reported. Renewables are also not cheaper when properly assessed in terms of total system costs, and Europe and others in developed societies are now actually realizing this. And the goals of energy affordability, reliability, and security remain just as relevant to us today as it did in the past for many nations. So what is it that we must do? Well, while the global north may now be experiencing a crisis of confidence, the rest, and particularly those residing in coal-producing and emerging nations, are having a crisis of collaboration. We now have the chance in changing and leading the global narrative on coal and capitalizing on the reality check that is happening, particularly in developed markets. And we can do this through collectively acknowledging and appreciating the total contribution of coal. In particular, its enduring significance and stabilizing nature as we work through the opportunities and challenges of globalization in this ever-increasing and unpredictable and volatile world. Secondly, harmonizing economic growth and environmental responsibility, both needing each other to achieve any sustainable outcome. And for any member in the audience who understands or spoken to myself or has heard any of our speeches or has actually reviewed any of the World Coal Association materials, you will know that under the Evolving Coal Strategy, we never talk about net zero and environmental ambitions without talking about economic ambitions as well. They must exist together. And lastly, we must stand united in advocating for collaborative, cross-border political and financial policies that reward coal innovation and clean and abated coal technologies. Finding abatement solutions not just in combustion, but beyond combustion, which allows coal to demonstrate its ability to transform into hydrogen, critical minerals, rare earths, fertilizers, advanced carbon products, and the like, all have a very profound effect on the many issues that will impact our growing global population: food, water, air, energy, health, and so on. By 2070, Goldman Sachs predicts that India will become the second largest economy in the world. This depends, as we all know, on many factors, particularly India's net zero ambitions, which could be a positive